Hi there, and welcome to the weekly Asylum and Immigration Reform Update, where I share with you 5 recent stories of interest to asylum seekers and those who want to stay current on immigration news. This week, we're discussing
the Biden administration restricted asylum for border crossers without legal status. Migrants now have just 4 hours to prepare for crucial asylum screening interviews. San Diego has become a top migrant destination, overwhelming local services. New York City's asylum office has the nation's lowest approval rate at 5%. Faith-based migrant aid groups face threats as immigration debate intensifies.
I'm Brian Manning. I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now, as an asylum lawyer, I help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. It's my pleasure to bring you asylum and immigration reform updates each week right here on the Political Asylum Lawyers YouTube channel. Okay, let's get to the news. First up,
the Biden administration issued a proclamation and regulation restricting asylum access for people crossing the southern border without legal status. The measures prohibit most asylum seekers from being granted asylum, forcing them to seek more limited forms of protection. The regulation also makes it harder for people to stay and seek protection by adding new restrictions and raising standards. The administration aims to deter unlawful border crossings, but the changes may result in people being removed who might otherwise have successfully won asylum. The impact of the regulation will depend on real-world implementation by U.S. officials and other governments. Critics contend that, rather than focusing solely on deterrence, the United States should strengthen the asylum system and provide new pathways for people to come without crossing the border, which would require significant investment from Congress.
And next up, for update number 2,
the Biden administration is cutting the guaranteed time migrants have to consult an attorney for their initial asylum screenings from at least 24 hours to 4 hours, per an internal email that was sent out to asylum officers at the agency that carries out the screenings, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. At issue are the credible fear screenings that asylum officers conduct with border crossers who claim fear of being harmed in their country or say they want to apply for asylum in the United States. Migrants can be deported swiftly if they receive a negative decision after this interview. The move to cut the amount of time that people have to prepare for this crucial interview to just 4 hours has sparked criticism from immigration advocates. 4 hours is simply not enough time to find an immigration lawyer, critics have noted.
All right. Time for our third immigration update.
The San Diego region has become a top destination for migrants along the southern U.S. border, surpassing Arizona and Texas. The surge has overwhelmed local services, forcing the Border Patrol to bus migrants to a trolley center with limited assistance. Migrants from 98 countries are arriving, driven by factors such as dangerous conditions in Mexico, a crackdown on Central American immigrants, and California's welcoming political climate. The closure of a government-funded welcome center and potential cuts to state funding have left nonprofits struggling to fill the void. Federal immigration reform and a bipartisan enforcement bill have failed to address the issue, leaving local officials and volunteers grappling with the influx of migrants. It remains to be seen whether the number of arrivals at the southern border will remain high or instead be impacted by President Biden's recent executive order aimed at effectively shutting down the border to asylum seekers during periods of high border crossings.
And moving right along, update number 4.
New York City's asylum office has the lowest approval rate in the country, a fact highlighted by an article in the New York Times. In 2020, only 5% of claims were granted at USCIS's New York asylum office, compared to 28% nationally. The office's strict approach, shaped by a past fraud investigation that has officers seeing fraud everywhere, has led to pressure on officers to move quickly and reject cases. As a result, many legitimate claims end up in lengthy and costly court processes. Ultimately, the vast majority of asylum requests referred to New York immigration courts are granted by judges, which effectively means that the immigration judges disagree with the asylum officers. The judges are granting asylum where the asylum officers had denied to do so. The New York Asylum Office has long been criticized for actively seeking ways to deny asylum claims.
And finally, our 5th immigration update for this week.
Faith-based organizations that assist migrants at the border have become targets of extremists and conspiracy theories as the 2024 election nears. Catholic charities and other groups have faced harassment, threats, and accusations of promoting an invasion and engaging in child trafficking. Right-wing provocateur James O'Keefe and some Republican members of Congress have lent legitimacy to these baseless claims. The heated rhetoric has led to increased security measures at Catholic Charities facilities, with employees and volunteers fearing for their safety. The organizations deny the allegations and assert that caring for vulnerable people, including migrants, is part of their religious mission. As the political fray over immigration intensifies, these groups find themselves in the middle of a contentious debate, facing risks of violence and threats to their operations. Immigration generally, and asylum specifically, look poised to be among the most prominent issues on the campaign trail heading into the fall.
And that wraps up this week's immigration news. If you want to win asylum in the United States, then you should call my office today. We help people all over the country, so it doesn't matter where you are. Call us now to schedule an Asylum Strategy Session so that we can help you secure your future in America through asylum. Again, I'm Brian Manning, and it's an honor to serve you in your immigration journey.